Hello, hello. Hey, sunshine. Welcome to a special edition of Conversations with Selena. I'm so excited tonight. We have two special guests. We may have one more joining in a moment. I'm not really sure, but we will see. Um, if she comes on, I'll pull her right on the the broadcast. But I'm gonna let Kayla and Mr. Barry introduce themselves. This is a special edition for Veterans Day. We want to thank them for their service, but also find out just about information that they have about being a vet, whether it's pros or cons or what. So go ahead, Mr. Barry. We're gonna start with you and hold on one second. Mr. Bear, we're going to go ahead and get started with you.
Could I be a gentleman here and let Miss Kayla go first?
You can.
Miss Kayla, you have the floor.
Okay.
So Miss Kayla, I'm sorry, go ahead and just introduce yourself and then just give us a little bit about being a vet. I'm not sure, like I didn't get the bio, so I'm going to let you introduce yourself and just share a little bit of information about being a veteran. Thank you so much.
Okay. In short, my name is Kayla. I'm from Louisiana. I'm actually a reservist. I'm in the military, but I'm a reservist at Keesler. I'm currently a reservist. I'm on active duty orders. I'm on active duty orders a lot. That's really like the short part about my bio. But as far as the veteran, you said what is a veteran to me? Like how'd you word it?
Oh, I was just saying, like, anything that you wanted to share about being a veteran. Like, say, for instance, my sister, she was telling me that sometimes vets don't like for you to say, we thank you for your service. Thank you for your service. And I was curious about that. So that was one of the things that I was going to ask. You all, do you have a problem whenever someone says just out of the blue, thank you for your service, thank you for your service? Because most of the time, when you're in uniform or you have your hat on, whether it's retire or you're a vet, that was one thing that she said. And then I wasn't sure of what level you all were, but just to say what it's like during the pandemic, the benefits, how it affected your family life, just things like that. I just was wondering if you could give a little bit of input of what it was like. I mean, what it was like to serve and, I guess how
So
it feels,
since Kayla is still currently on tour, both in the reserve and active component, I can expand a little bit. Kayla, so you probably got less than 3 years in?
6 years.
Oh, you got 6. That's good.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you for your service. And thank you for your continued service because in Kayla's,
than I am.
yeah, in Kayla's capacity, depending on world circumstances, as we call it, the balloon could go up at any time. And now she's in uniform with a weapon in her hand and a rucksack on her back, defending our right to continue to be free. I served a total of 11 years, 6 as an officer, 5 as an enlisted person, and a couple of years in the reserves while I was in ROTC. So I'll go back up to the top. I do want to address the statement that was made by your sister about there being a negative connotation to the salutation of thank you for your service. I feel for her if something happened that has given her that association with that. But I can tell you with confidence, because I've lived all over this country and this nation, very few veterans reject that statement. As a matter of fact, I've seen more veterans who their hearts are warmed and they feel honored when they are greeted in that manner, especially those who've served in both Gulf Wars and who've come back with loss, whether that loss is psychological through trauma or through physical loss of limbs. Older soldiers who served in older wars really appreciate the term because it makes them feel like they are not forgotten. Did I lose you guys?
No, I think she just gave you the floor.
Ah, okay. Because they feel like they are not forgotten. Now, I myself, my journey through those 9 years, I started out on a football scholarship, attending a small black college in Fayetteville, North Carolina, by the name of Fayetteville State. I had a dream of playing pro football. And after the first 2 years of college, through some unfavorable events that didn't materialize, I transferred to a predominantly white university with the intent of playing ball, and that didn't work out. So I went on active duty. My father was a Vietnam veteran, and he said to me, he said, if you're going to go on active duty, learn how to lead soldiers. And where you learn how to lead soldiers is as an enlisted member, and then getting up through the ranks of the NCO Corps, which is the Non-Commissioned Officers Corps. So I hit the rank of E5. But before I hit E5, I won an ROTC scholarship. And at the time, I was a pre-med major. So when I won the scholarship, I went off to college, and I changed my major to nursing. And I eventually graduated from Florida A&M University with a bachelor's degree in nursing that the Army paid for, one of the many beautiful benefits of wearing the uniform. And then I got commissioned as a nurse corps officer, and I served up in Washington D.C. area at Walter Reed, which at that time was one of the best teaching facilities, whether it was civilian or military, in the world. So I gained a lot of experience, met a lot of new people, and I got the pleasure to serve and care for not only soldiers of the first Gulf War, but their family members and their spouses. I was deeply honored to have done so, and I still am to this day. I did not serve in combat. I served between both of those wars, but as I stated, I took care of the soldiers and the family members who served in both of those campaigns. I left the Army in 1997, but I have been a registered nurse since for over 30 years now. And during that time, I also went ahead and got my master's degree in computer systems management. And if anybody is curious as to how an ICU nurse gets a master's degree in technology or computers, I can share that if you like, Selena. But it just suffices to say that the VA was the component that paid for my master's degree. Yet again, another benefit of wearing the uniform.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, are there any costs to wearing a uniform? Yeah, I mean, there's a chance you get activated in Miss Kayla's case, or in my case, I was active duty. Um, they could have deployed me anytime they wanted to, but because I was taking care of people in the healthcare arena, I served at the major hospital. So that is what some people would consider the downside or a risk. But in my opinion, anything in life that's worth having is worth taking risk and fighting for. So I did that. And by serving in those components and being a veteran, the benefits that are conferred onto me will be benefits that not only will I enjoy, but when God calls me home, my family and 3 generations down from me will benefit from my time in service.
And it's funny you say that about the benefits. I just had someone tell me that so many people don't even utilize the benefits. It's
They
like they
don't.
have them available and they don't even use them. They don't go back
They
to
don't.
school. They don't get the homes through, the VA. Just it's I don't understand for a civilian out here. We just don't understand
Some
that.
soldiers feel like they don't deserve it, which is unfortunate. There's some
Oh
soldiers that
yeah.
feel like I'm not hurting today. I don't feel any pain. I don't feel depressed. I don't feel like I've had any traumatic events that happened to me when I was on active duty. So they don't go. My theory and the theory of a lot of other of my comrade in arms, and I'll say it to Kayla to her face right now. When the time comes, Kayla, go apply for your benefits. Go through the TIPS program. Sit in that class and learn about every one of those benefits. Because when you get off active duty, or come out of your reserve component, there's this thing that's called, let me see if I remember it. Oh my God. Additional income, but that's not the term I'm looking for. Residual income is what I'm looking for. Benefits that come from the government are tax free, and they are what we call, like I said, they're benefits that you don't have to work for. That means you're getting paid while you sleep. You want to gather as many of those sources of income as you can. That's how you build wealth for your family and your children going forward. But as I stated, continue to read, whatever newsletters that comes out about benefits of being a veteran. Please take advantage of it. You'll have one way of contacting me. If any question ever comes up, another thing all of us as veterans should do is continue to give back. I have no issue, Kayla, if you ever reach out to me with a question. If I don't know the answer, one of the things I learned by serving in the military, I know how to find the answer for you.
Resourceful. Yes, yes. That's awesome. It's just sometimes we need to be gently reminded because I know, like for me, I'm civilian, but I work for the Department of the Navy, and people will
Uh-huh.
say, "Thank you for your service." And I definitely don't feel like I'm like, wait, hold up. So I'm trying to explain that I'm civilian, and they're just like, it doesn't matter. Thank you for
Doesn't
your
matter.
service. So I just learned how to say, I don't even know if I say yes, or whatever, because I don't know what to say. I feel like I haven't served. So it is hard sometimes when you feel like you don't deserve it. But if you've been away from your family and you signed the dotted line and given your life basically away to the government to say, here I am to do whatever it is that you need to do, send me off, send me over here, send me over there, whatever it is you need for me to do, I'm here to serve. That deserves a thank you for your service. So I just wanted to, put that out there because I know I had someone mention that to me along with utilizing the benefits. And we just want anyone that's new coming in or getting out to know, like you said, go through that training, the tips training that lets you know everything that's available. And so thank you for all of that information and especially offering your services after the live, because I already have some questions for you after we get off the live.
Like I said, I promise you, if I don't know the answer, I know where to go get it.
Yes,
Thank
sir. Thank
you for
you.
serving. One of the benefits that you have that active duty component soldiers who you may be working with don't have is consistency. We stay on station anywhere from 18 to 24 months, and then we come down on orders and we get moved. We lead the place. You know the place because you are that foundation of the area where you work. That's why your service is so special.
Yes, sir.
I
Thank
kind of
you.
wanted to add to that thing, like the thank you for your service. I think
Go ahead.
I think that on another part, I think why people don't like it is because they don't know how to, I think it's awkward sometimes. They don't know how to answer it. So I learned the answer for it. People say thank you for your service. I always say just thank you for your support.
Oh,
Because
wonderful. I
it took
love it.
me
Oh,
I
it
love
took
it.
me
good.
a long time to learn like a word once they say it because it's awkward. I want to be like thank you, but like just like thank you for what, or like you don't know what to say. So I think it's more so people don't know what to say back. So I think it's
Yeah.
more awkward, but I think it's like you got to learn a phrase. So like my
Yeah.
phrase is always like thank you for your support
That's
because
a, that's a good one.
so like
Mm-hmm.
as a reservist, I have a completely different life from like a person that's active duty. So
Okay.
like I guess as being in 6 years, I am I have been a reservist in the Air Force for 6 years. So I started off I'm an E5 and I'm a staff sergeant. So but I started off in 2016. I started off in 2016, and in 2016, everything was a lot different. Like the military changes, and it's changed a bunch since I've got it for 6 years. So I know it's changed since Mr. Barry's last minute because it changes. It's an everyday thing, every year thing. So it's constantly
It's
changing.
constantly changing. Mm-hmm.
But something that I have a big different experience in some of the things that he's saying, like how you get transferred a lot. I've been at the same base for 6 years. I don't have to go to another base if I don't want to. As a reservist, if anybody wanted to be a reservist, it's actually a really good thing. Like if anybody ever had any question, you could ask me because like something I like about it is at one point I was an art. There's also something called AGR, and as reservist as an art, I'm like sunshine. I pick my base where I want to be at, but I'm also a reservist. So I still have to do my weekends, but I'm also a civilian, even though you
Hmm.
wear the uniform every day. So like, but there's also AGR where like you're in active duty status, and you get an active duty contract for 3 to 4 years, which is like 36 to 48 months. You get an active duty contract, and but you still, once again, that's where you know where you're at. The military isn't constantly moving you like your active duty counterpart. So, in the thing of like stability, like I feel like reservists is better, and a lot of reservists don't feel like y'all were talking about benefits also. Reservists don't feel entitled, like they don't feel like they're worthy of those things because you feel like you're just a reservist or something, but it's not just a reservist. You
Right.
you give your
Oh
time
my
like everyone
God.
gives their time.
Miss Taylor,
We,
you've said so much, and please forgive me because I want to just build on to some things that you've called out. Number one, you are dead right about the reserve component. You guys are a lot more stationary, and that is an awesome thing. The other thing is, she said AGR, that's active guard and reserve. And so I appreciate you so much for your perspective. You're right. Now, like
Right.
you were talking about the pace and rate of change. When I came on active duty in 1986, then President Reagan signed an executive order that made reservists easily able to be called up to active duty.
yeah, that's
So
all
there was a
our mission.
time when people would join the Guard and Reserve, Miss Sunshine, because you did move. You rarely wore a uniform, only like she said, 1 weekend a month, 2 weeks during the summer. And so then they called the reserve like going into the reserve to get money for college and to buy a car. And so when the Gulf War broke out, every reservist, Kayla, that was in
Everybody.
college got called to active duty. And what
Hmm.
those of us who were active duty, we said, okay, so now you got to really pay for that car, don't you? But we still loved them all because they still got the same training right beside me. And they were, as they say, you hear on TV all the time, they were watching my six just like any other active duty soldier. So we're all one big family, no matter what component you serve. Navy, Miss Sunshine; Air Force, Miss Kayla, or Sergeant Kayla, Sergeant, yeah, because I don't know your last name.
Jones.
And the U.S. Army for me. We're all still comrades. So I just
Hmm.
wanted to pile on that in a pleasant way.
And that's another
No,
thing
that's
as a
awesome.
reservist.
Cause she put that word just, and in some of my previous lives, it's like we have to stop with just, and what's the other word that I always talk about? Little.
Yeah.
Little house, little car, I'm just to this or just to that. We have to be proud of what we do and so thankful. And when we come just from the attitude of gratitude, being thankful that we're able to serve in whatever capacity, it just puts a new spin on it. And then it's not a prideful way, it's more of a godly prideful way, if
Yes.
that's a good way of putting it, because if it wasn't for him, we wouldn't be able to do any of this. So
No.
we're just so thankful to be able to serve, um, not only our country but our fellow humans. I'm not even gonna say Americans, our fellow
Yes.
humans, because it doesn't matter who they are. We just have a heart to serve, I believe.
Yes, ma'am. Miss Kayla,
Yeah,
you were going to say something else.
I was gonna say, I don't remember exactly, but off of that, I was a art for 2 years. I did the art world, which I was, active reserve technician, and then I'm actually a contractor for the Navy right now.
Okay.
So like although I am in the Air Force still, like I've been on Air Force order since May, but so I haven't. But that's another thing about the reserves. You can always, your job can't tell you that you can't go
Yep.
on military order. So like my Navy job has to let me go
That's right.
to Keesler,
That's right.
and they
That's
can't
right. And
no job.
they have to hold your job for you.
Yeah, that's
So
true.
constant military at all times.
Yeah, exactly. And I would just like to speak to the statement again, Ms. Sunshine, about thank you for your service. So another thing that I saw when I came off of active duty, I became a DoD contractor and a project manager and consultant back to the U.S. Army. I served with a colonel who we helped to create the telemedicine component for all of the three suits. We call it the purple suit. So telemedicine as it exists today, I was one of the guys who helped bring that into being. So being a consultant, I traveled a lot, right? I was usually wheels up every Sunday or Monday, traveling somewhere and then coming back home on Thursday. So that put me in a lot of planes and into a lot of airports. And I got to see a lot of 20 something soldiers. And I'm sitting here and I'm looking at it and I'm going, okay, you are 21, maybe 22 years old, and you've already had to take somebody's life in defense of this nation. How does that work for you? You may have already, in defense, taken the lives of 4 or 5 people. So for those youngsters who loved their country enough and felt such a big sense of duty that when I would see them in the airports, as often as I could, I would pay for their meals when they would go to get meals because I have that much respect for them and so much honor for them making that sacrifice at such a young age, and for some of them having to pay some of the prices they paid in terms of mental trauma, and then, as I stated earlier, some of the physical loss of limb. So that's why when I say thank you for your service, that is always the spirit of how I'm looking at it.
Yes, sir, because their lives will forever be changed, will
Yes.
never be the same. And
No.
um I cannot even imagine. So that does hit differently completely.
Yes.
Hmm. So, Miss Kayla, did you have anything else you wanted to piggyback off of that?
No, he says it perfectly.
He does, doesn't he? I told him. So if y'all think that Mr. Barry needs to start his own podcast, I mean, just says it perfectly. We don't even have to be here. That's why I put him on solo. Just go ahead on and roll with it.
That is a gift that the good Lord above has given me. I was once called verbose, but everything that I said in my mouth, I'm praying that it is because I've decreased and allowed the good Lord to increase. So that
Increase, yes.
what you
Hmm.
hear comes from the Holy Spirit.
Well, we receive it. Thank you so much for
Good.
sharing. So I was checking backstage. I'm not even sure of who else was going to join, but we're just going to keep moving. So being like away from your family, that was another big thing whenever you're in the military. Like you move a lot. How did it affect your family? Just having to uproot and move and being away from them when they couldn't go, because sometimes family can't go with you. You move a lot sometimes, but sometimes family can't go whenever you're being
Right.
deployed.
So I was blessed with mine. I actually had um I never got deployed overseas, as I stated, but I had a lot of friends who got deployed. And I even had an uncle who served in the Air Force who got deployed. And what I can tell you from what I saw was he had 3 kids, and moving them overseas to Italy, or and then coming back to the States, moving them overseas to France, coming back home, that happened to these kids, my cousins, throughout their teenage years, their elementary years, and up. And the last move that he had before he retired, they were in the States, and then they went to Italy. But the time that they were in the States, they reconnected with the family, and they made friends. And when they had to leave all of that to go to Italy, when they came back, they were changed forever, and it wasn't for the good. I've seen other soldiers who, because they were constantly moving and shaking and being being coming down on orders to be deployed to Korea, is one of the places where, if it's a short tour, meaning a year, at least it used to be, you usually went unaccompanied with your family. And then if you get deployed into a combat zone, more often than not, you're not going to be able to deploy with your family. So that separation, from what my peers and fellow soldiers have shared with me, is painful, and sometimes the casualty can be the breakup of marriages and eroding of relationships with your children. So, it becomes your second job and you come back that's trying to repair those relationships.
Wow.
So I have a mine would be as a reservist. Uh, we're away from our family a lot. Probably it's different than active duty because active duty you get a tour and you know where you're going. Reserve is like it's a shorter tour, but it can be way more often. So I have a baby. That's who keep jumping in the camera every once in a while. But
Let the baby in the camera, girl.
but he so my hardest time is I had a baby. He's a year and a half, and so recently I had to get on orders in May. And whenever I got on orders, his dad is also military. His dad is sane. So his dad was on orders as well. And sometimes though his dad isn't on orders or I'm not on orders. So one of us have to be because if you stay over, I work an hour and a half from where I live. And some people are further as reservists. Like some people who work at these bases, they're like 2+ hours away. Like I've heard people tell me they drive 6 hours, 5 hours. So whenever you do time, so say that they have to get on orders for like I've been on orders since May and I'm on orders now. So say they had to do 90 days on orders or something like that. It's usually less or more. It could be less or more as a reservist, but if you do have to do that time, it sucks because you're away from your family. You you can try to get your kid in daycare or something like that, but if you have an older kid, like you can't just pull them out of school and things like that. So you have to find something for them to do. You automatically have to do that for that 2 weeks out of the year. But for me, it was hard because I couldn't find a babysitter because they were all packed up. You have to get a babysitter. They're all packed up, and it was so hard because I had to be with my baby and his dad. We had to give him like to his mom for a moment, and then like he had to travel from his mom to my mom. I don't know. That's something that's hard for me because I can't imagine like as he gets older having to keep traveling through different people because his parents are military and we have to do that time, and that's not including if we both got deployed or something even longer for 6 months or whatever. So as a reservist, we travel a lot more. We're on the go a lot more, and you're gonna have times where you're away from your family, whether it's spouse, kids, or whatever. And in my case, it's mostly my kid, and it sucks.
Yeah, that is hard. And then especially with both parents, because normally if one has to go away, you can like, isn't it sign over your rights or give temporary guardianship over someone? But if you're both military, it's like, what do you do now? You have to depend on family or
Yeah, and as parents,
friends.
like, you have little kids. People are deploying with like newborns, so like
Yeah.
that's a hard thing for your kid. Like that was a hard
That's
thing for me as
hard.
that was hard for me as a parent because I feel like at first I wasn't I don't feel like I was able to bond with them as much at first as a mom. Um, being that I was always like that I was always like I think he was about 6 months and I was put on orders while he was 6 months, so I wasn't able to like unless I drove home every day, which honestly is hard through traffic and all that. Then I feel like once I got home, like I wasn't being like a active parent. I was tired and I couldn't like do what I wanted. Kids stay up all night, so like I couldn't be like the type of parent that I wanted to be at first. So
Yeah.
I feel like but a lot of parents, military parents, have that. Even active duty, like whenever you have to deploy your children are that small, you can't just tell them like, no, I don't want to deploy. Because
So, Kayla, you're saying that still, and I want to be, so still the military takes kind of a hard line when it comes to deployments with people with families and especially small kids. It's still like the orders are the orders. You come down
yeah,
on orders, you got right. Yeah,
you make you have to make a sacrifice. It's,
yeah.
it's it's definitely a sacrifice. If you're not on that as a woman, if you're not on a profile, you got to go. So like
So,
the moment I came off that profile, it was
yeah.
like I was able to go back. So
Yeah, so back in the day, Miss Sunshine, they used to say the Army didn't issue you a family. So, like she said, when you came down on the orders, that was it. You're out.
Yeah. Mm.
yeah, it's a sacrifice we all make, but it's kind of
Correct.
like
That is a
it's
part of the
a
sacrifice.
it's kind of the choice that we make, and then we keep signing. So it's
So,
like no.
I will follow that up with that's why Sunshine, any veteran you come across, that is one of the reasons why they earn those benefits right there.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Right there. They don't think about things in that way. The sacrifices they made. It doesn't matter what you feel like, how you feel today. Think about those nights for you, that young soldier who was a mom who just birthed a child. And like she said, 6 months later, you are in Kuwait.
Wherever.
And
Yeah.
when you come back, your child is now 24 months old, going, who are you?
Mm-hmm.
That's worth being paid for. I think she sacrificed for our nation, and I love her for doing that in that scenario. If it ever played out, but that warrants being compensated, not just because of the dollar bill, y'all, but because let's try to make this a like in kind transaction as best we can, so that
Mm-hmm.
everybody wins, not that somebody has to lose. That's when our country becomes weak. When we live in a scenario where every time somebody steps up and volunteers, they lose. That it shouldn't be that way.
Mm-hmm. Wow. Definitely. Whew. Mm-mm. And even going to work, like having to leave your child in somebody else's care is hard for like the civilian mom. So I can't even imagine having to hand over the baby for 6 months, a year, like Mr. Berry said, 24 months later, your child's like, who are you again? Because they've grown attached to somebody else and they don't have a clue who you are. So we
Yeah,
definitely wanted to just take a moment on tonight. Like I said, just before the weekend was out, to find out a little bit of an insight for people that don't know, what it's like, and that may wanted to get a little bit more information and a little bit more insight. So the next time you see someone in uniform, you will want to say, "Thank you so much for your service."
yes, yes.
Hmm.
And I'll say this. Um, Neither one of us, Sergeant Kayla nor me, when we raised our right hand, it didn't matter what political party was in office. We said that we would obey the orders of the President of the United States of America, period.
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 People tried to talk me out of it because I think Trump had just become president. Like, no, he's gonna send me out of war. Trump's president. Like,
No, it's not about the color of the or the party of the people sitting in the highest seat in the land. It's about the country.
Hmm. And
It's
so
about
you respect the position. So you
correct.
respect the position. And
Correct.
like you said, it doesn't matter the name of the person that's there, because it's our job to pray for all of the officials, no matter
Correct.
whether it's state, local, or national level. We just need to pray for each and every person. And I was just taken aback at some of the comments and things that were being said during election time. And it's like, y'all, we need to grow up and just pray for whoever,
Whoever.
trust and believe the process, and then pray for the rest, because you can't do anything about it. And so that just blew my mind, the behavior of some people, and people that I was close to too. I couldn't believe the behavior and the comments and things of that nature. So I stayed really quiet during that time.
Good. Good. My pastor here says we should not be. If you're a Christian and you're claiming to be a Christian, you
Hmm.
should not be a voter of any particular color. You should be a kingdom voter. You should be a person who goes into the booth with the Bible in your hand, Jesus on your heart. Then you make a decision. Because let us not forget, everybody who gets into office and holds an office is there at the pleasure of God. God put them in that position. And no matter how they are conducting themselves in these positions, for the ones who are conducting themselves in less than a godly leadership manner, we should pray for them all.
Pray for them all. That's just the bottom line of it. And so, um, yeah. Yes, yes, yes. I agree with that. Because I was going to say, like you said, it's not about the color. We should be really voting for listening to their beliefs, listening to their views and opinions, and then praying about it, and then voting for the best candidate,
Yes.
period. So
Yes.
we should be allowed to vote across whatever, but
Yes.
the system just seems not to really be, I don't know. I'm gonna leave that alone too. I'm just gonna go be
Well,
quiet on that one
right. Without getting too deep into
without getting
that
too deep.
murky water, I just say that
Yeah,
what we don't do as a people is get educated enough on the candidates and on the issues. Because if
hmm
you educate yourself on the issues, find out what's important to you and your family, and then find out who the candidate is really. Find out what they say when the camera is not in their face, right? And then you get a better idea, and then pray. Then you have a much better chance of, at least when you come out of that booth, you can say, I voted as best I could for the right person because they represented the issues that as a Christian I held dear to my heart.
that's correct. That's correct. And so, therefore, if you want to join the military at any given time, just know that, you're in good hands. You're going to be in good
Correct.
hands regardless because your whole nation is praying,
Correct.
praying for you and praying
It's
for the
more.
people
It's more
that's in
about the
office.
people. It's more about the people that's standing right on side of you in boot camp, and people.
Thank
It's more
you.
about the people that you work with.
Yes. Yes.
Who's in office? You need to worry about who's standing on side of you and if they got your back.
Yes.
Well, hopefully they have your, because then they sign up for that as well.
And they do
Well,
have your back. That's what I'm
well,
saying. Those are the people that you need to worry about. Like if your plan is to join the military, you the least of my worries is it sucks. Like I'm never worried about who's the president or who's the senator, or who's this or that. Like I'm worried about who's standing next to me and who's sitting on side of me because if something did happen, I had to go. It matters who you got on side of you and what they have in their heart, and that the people around you are good people that you work with. So I would say it's more so that than who's in office. We don't care about who's in office.
no.
I mean, we care because we're people. You know, we're citizens. We care like
Yeah,
we're citizens. But
but
as far as like
she's
as
right.
deep as people think, like how people like oh, they're going against the military, or this is against the military, that's against the military. Like we don't care about that. We do this so that you can do those do protests in any way that you want to. We do not care. If any military person tells you they care, like that they have their priorities messed up because like we do all of that so that people can protest and whatever beliefs that they feel.
Exercise there. Yeah.
Yes, and
Mhm.
it just doesn't matter. Like I don't care who the president is. I don't care who wins it. I mean I care, but I'm saying like as far as in a deeper level, like as a military member, I don't
Mhm.
I don't care. I'm not worried about who said they all sign a check, like it does not matter. It doesn't matter.
Yeah. No, we understand. Thank you so much, Kayla. So, Mr. Barry, did you have any closing remarks that you wanted to share with us? Because I think this was very informative.
Um, the only closing remarks I have, I guess, would be that as far as veterans are concerned, I thank you so much for you giving us this forum and having this forum in place so that we could sit down here and have a conversation that gets posted onto the internet. I hope it piques the interest of somebody and that we gave them just enough of a nugget for them to go out and get more information, whether you are a civilian and you're a college student that's bummed out and you're trying to figure out what's the next step. The military still to this day is not a bad option. Just become educated and understand what you're doing and go into it with your eyes wide open. Have a plan. With anything you do in life, whether you're going to join the military or not, always have a plan for how you're going to move forward. Um, the next thing I would say is for veterans, go to your local VFW, get information. Go to your local VA facility that's close to you. Reach out, find out what's available. I think their minds will be blown when they figure out what benefits they're eligible for. I couldn't even begin to start to list them here. I myself personally started out When I left the military, I didn't have the tips program that Kayla has that would be available to her should she decide to complete her service. So I learned about things late and the hard way. So I did come out with disabilities, and I got my disability rating from 20% because I was ignorant and didn't know what I was eligible for, to currently now I'm at 90%. But I got to 90% because of the love and the networking with my fellow veterans.
Mm-hmm.
So for the rest of those people out there who may run across this podcast, just Google veteran benefits. Google VHA, anything that has veterans in it, put benefits there and then follow up with it. Finally, I'd say um, God has carried me throughout this whole process. I trust Him, I love Him because He has never, ever let me down. And that's not something I'm speaking, that's something I have lived and I have direct evidence of.
Yes. Thank you so very much. I love it. I love it. So definitely educate yourself and trust and believe and ask questions. Have a plan. Those are the words of Mr. Barry summing up tonight's podcast. Miss Kayla, did you have anything to wrap it up?
No, just do what Mr. Barry said. Oh yeah, join the Air Force.
Oh
Don't
my
join it
God,
all different.
you
Don't
had
listen
to
to
mess
nobody
it
else.
up.
Join the Air Force. No matter what they say, we treat it better. No, I'm just joking.
No, that's good. That's great,
It's a
Kim. There you
running joke.
go.
It's
That
a
was
running joke
good.
between
She
military
just put the
members.
icing on it. She just did
Yes,
it.
no,
Good
that was
job, Kayla.
perfect.
But you
Ah,
should you should talk to fellow military members. They're gonna
Yes,
tell you join the Air Force, but no, talk to other military members and see what people are saying. See what you need. Don't just accept any job. Don't just accept anything because they tell you that. Like really research like before
yes,
you, because it is a good thing to do. Like I've enjoyed the time that I've enjoyed in the military, and I can honestly say that it bettered my life in a lot of ways, and it gave me a lot of opportunities that I wouldn't have had as
mm-hmm,
because I
mm-hmm.
didn't know. I was like Mr. Barry said, someone who didn't know what they want to do, so I didn't know what I wanted to do in life. So that's why I joined as a reservist, and I didn't have all the information back then. But the more and more that I talked to people, I realized that I did make the right choice by joining the Air Force, and and
He did that thing again, Miss Mary.
you just no, you really just have to talk to veterans, talk to people who are in just that's the big key
that's
because you're
correct.
gonna find someone who knows something.
That's correct.
Yes, get the knowledge that you need. Be informed, make an informed decision.
Decision. And my
Yes,
final
yes.
comment is there's a statement that goes like this: knowledge is power. I would actually say that's about 95% true. Knowledge is power, but applied knowledge is greater.
That's right. That's right. Because we can know it, but if you don't put action to it, it doesn't do you much good.
No good at all.
Because I have a ton of books that I'm waiting to read, and it's like, oh, I got so much information over there, but it's not doing me any good inside of the book.
There
So,
Oh,
you
I
go.
want to add one thing. If you are in the military, you need to anything that happens to you, anything that you feel, document it.
Yes.
That's
Yes.
key.
oh
Something that
yes,
we did not say,
Yes.
go document it. If you feel depressed, sad for a
Yes.
moment, you need to go talk to mental health. If your
Yes.
leg hurt, go to the hospital
Yes. Get
like
it
ASAP.
documented.
Do not let anything go undocumented. Because anything that's not documented probably did not happen in their
That's
eyes.
correct.
So I don't want to let y'all go without telling y'all document everything.
There you
and
go.
that's even outside of the military world. That's just in life general. Start to document things because I'm guilty of not doing it, and I regret it so much because you start thinking, now when did that happen? But if you
Hmm.
had a journal where you've documented things, you can go back and refer to it, and it could be health things. Because when I go to the doctor, they're like, well, when did this start? You're like, well, did you eat anything different? You don't know. But if you're documenting some of your daily habits, some of the things that you do, don't do, whatever, document. It's just so beneficial. So I'm glad that you said that because I think that can be applied to everybody.
Yes, because
Yes.
if you go to the VA in 10 years saying that I was depressed back then and I want to file for depression, they're going to be like, well, where is it? It didn't happen
Right.
if it's not documented. You say, oh, my back started hurting because I was working on this engine and my back, and where's the paperwork? It did not happen if you did not document it. So if you want those benefits later, document it today.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. That's right. That's right. Well, thank you all so very much for joining me on tonight. We'll have to do a follow-up, maybe. I don't know. We'll pick a topic and come back and do it all over again. How about that?
Sounds good to me.
That's fine with me.
So yes, so I'm gonna reach out to you all because not tonight, but in the near future, because I do have a couple questions for you. If that's okay, I'll get your info. Oh, I have your information from my girl, and I'll reach out to you all if that's okay.
Please do.
All right. Well, thank y'all so much. And thank you all for joining on tonight. We definitely appreciate the service that is being provided to us. We like going to sleep and not having to worry about anything during the night because we are safe. And we're safe because we have an amazing military who sacrifice. That is the word for tonight. Kayla said it. Mr. Barry said it. It is a sacrifice being in the military. So we just wanted to take a moment to tell our veterans that we love and appreciate them. And we wanted to tell them personally on tonight that we thank them for their service. So thank you all for joining tonight. If you're watching the replay, just put #replay, share this with someone that you think could benefit from the information. And we love you all. Y'all keep it smiling, sunshine. Go share a smile and spread some sunshine.
All right. Bye, ladies.
Good night.